This is not history. This is memory. 5 rulers, 5 empires, 5 children who looked at their own parents and decided the throne was worth more than the relationship. These are not villains in fairy tales. These are sons and daughters who grew up watching exactly how power works in their families and then used that education on the people who taught it to them. Number 5. Ivan the Terrible. He didn't get betrayed by his son. He destroyed his own legacy with a single blow of rage and spent the rest of his life unable to take it back. Ivan built modern Russia. He expanded the territory, centralized power, and created the foundations of the Tsardom that would last for centuries. He also lived in a state of near-constant paranoia, convinced that everyone around him, including his own family, was plotting against him. In November 1581, accounts describe a violent argument between Ivan and his eldest son and heir, Ivan Ivanovich.
The dispute reportedly involved the prince's pregnant wife. In a fit of rage, Ivan struck his son with a heavy staff. The blow proved fatal days later. This wasn't betrayal by a child against a parent. It was the opposite. A father destroying the one heir capable of continuing what he had built. Russia's most capable potential successor was gone, and the dynasty Ivan spent his life constructing collapsed within a generation of his death. Ivan spent his remaining years in documented grief, instability, and isolation. Contemporary accounts describe a man who never fully recovered. Sometimes, the most devastating betrayal in a ruling family isn't committed by the child at all. Sometimes, the parent does it to themselves, and everyone around them pays for it for decades. Number 4. Frederick William I of Prussia. He almost lost his son before his son ever had the chance to betray him, because he couldn't stand who that son was turning into. Frederick William ruled Prussia like a barracks. Discipline, militarism, austerity. These were not just policies. They were his entire personality, and he expected his heir to be a perfect copy of himself. His son Frederick was the opposite. He loved music, he loved philosophy, he loved books his father considered weak and foreign. The relationship between them was, by every surviving account, brutal. Public humiliation, physical punishment, a father who seemed determined to beat the softness out of his son through sheer force. At 18, Frederick attempted something desperate. He tried to flee the country entirely, along with a close companion, planning to escape to England and abandon his future throne completely. They were caught before they got out. What happened next is one of the most psychologically devastating punishments in royal history. Frederick William didn't just punish his son. He forced Frederick to watch from his prison cell window as his companion was executed, a calculated act intended to break him permanently, to make clear exactly what defiance cost. It should have destroyed him. It didn't. Frederick survived that imprisonment and went on to become Frederick the Great, one of the most militarily and culturally significant rulers in European history, a man who expanded Prussia's power while also championing the arts and philosophy his father despised. The betrayal here wasn't committed by the child. It came first from the father, and Prussia spent the next 40 years discovering exactly what kind of king that kind of cruelty creates. Number 3. Shah Jahan. He built the most famous monument to love that human hands have ever constructed. His own son turned that monument into a prison.
Shah Jahan commissioned the Taj Mahal after the death of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal.
22 years of construction, the wealth of an empire. 20,000 artisans pouring white marble into something the world still cannot stop looking at 4 centuries later. What Shah Jahan never properly settled was succession. He had 4 sons, and Mughal tradition offered no clean rule for who inherited what. As his health declined in 1657, the four brothers did what royal brothers across history have done when the rules are unclear. They went to war with each other. His son Aurangzeb proved the most ruthless and the most effective. He defeated his brothers one by one. Exile, execution, elimination of every rival claim to the throne. Then he turned to his own father. Shah Jahan was imprisoned in Agra fort, not executed. Aurangzeb was careful about that, careful about optics, careful about what history would say. Just imprisoned for 8 years in a set of rooms with one specific feature, a window facing the Taj Mahal. Every single day for 8 years, the man who built the most beautiful tomb in the world looked out at it from a cell his own son had placed him in, unable to visit the grave of the woman he built it for. Shah Jahan proved something brutal about legacy. The thing you build out of love can become exactly the thing your children use to punish you. Number 2. Kosem Sultan. She signed the order that ended her own son's life. Decades later, her own grandson made sure she never saw it coming when they came for her. Kosem arrived at Topkapi Palace as a teenage girl, taken from a Greek island with nothing to her name but her face and her intelligence. Within 20 years, she had become the legal wife of the Ottoman Sultan, the first woman granted that status in over a century. When her husband died, she didn't disappear into the background the way royal widows were expected to. She became Valide Sultan, the most powerful official position a woman could hold in the empire. And she ran the Ottoman state through 3 different sultans and 50 years of wars, rebellions, and plague, negotiating directly with rebel military commanders while the men around her panicked and froze. But power inside a dynasty doesn't stay clean. Her son Ibrahim's reign descended into instability so severe, erratic decisions, executions, a treasury emptied on personal obsessions, that the empire itself was at risk. When the military demanded his removal, Kosem made the calculation that no mother should have to make. She agreed. Her son was executed days later. Kosem continued ruling, now through her young grandson Mehmed. But that grandson's own mother, Turhan Sultan, had been watching Kosem operate for years and had learned every lesson she taught. The two women's networks collided. Turhan moved first. Kosem, 70 years old, was killed in her own chambers by men sent on her grandson's authority. Kosem proved that in Ottoman politics, even the woman who builds 3 sultans' thrones with her own hands isn't safe standing near the one she didn't choose herself. Number 1. Agrippina the Younger. She poisoned an emperor with her own hands to put her son on the throne of Rome. He sent men to kill her, and it took them 3 attempts to finish the job. Agrippina married Emperor Claudius for one specific purpose, securing the imperial succession for her son, a boy named Lucius, who the world would later know as Nero, bypassing Claudius's own biological heir entirely. She achieved it through years of careful political maneuvering inside a court built on exactly that kind of calculation. Then, Claudius died. Mushrooms, the ancient sources say, prepared by Agrippina's personal chef. The timing was, by any measure, extremely convenient. 16-year-old Nero became Emperor of Rome. For 2 years, Agrippina ruled through him completely, sitting beside him at official functions in a way no Roman woman ever had, putting her own face on imperial coinage next to his. Then Nero grew up, and like every child who eventually realizes their parent built their entire life around controlling them, he decided he didn't need her anymore. The first attempt was almost elegant. Nero sent a boat designed with a collapsing mechanism, meant to sink with Agrippina inside it during what was supposed to be a friendly dinner invitation. The boat sank. She swam to shore. The second attempt arrived that same night. 3 men sent directly to her villa.
According to the accounts that survive, Agrippina understood exactly why they were there the moment they walked in. She didn't beg. She pointed to her own body and told them precisely where to strike. Agrippina proved the oldest and cruelest lesson in royal history.
Giving someone everything you have doesn't guarantee they'll let you keep anything for yourself, including your own life. 5 rulers, 5 completely different kinds of betrayal, by poison, by imprisonment, by cruelty turned inward, by political calculation, by a father's own uncontrolled rage. What connects all 5 of them isn't villainy. It's something far more uncomfortable. Every one of these people built something enormous, an empire, a dynasty, a monument that still stands today. And every single one of them discovered that the people closest to them, the children they raised with their own hands, were capable of becoming the most dangerous people in the room. Power doesn't just corrupt the person holding it.
It rewires everyone standing near it, including the family that's supposed to love you the most.
Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 stories actually shocked you? Was it the mother who pointed to her own chest? Or the son who watched an execution from a prison window? And subscribe, because on this channel, every empire eventually falls the same way, from the inside.